Days after conceding a hard-fought Democratic primary, Hillary Clinton got a surprising invitation.
I called her and suggested that maybe she would meet with Barack Obama.
The secret summit took place on June 5, 2008 at Feinstein's D.C. home. Clinton got there in a minivan, hunkered down in the back seat to avoid reporters, while Obama sent his press corps packing.
It was only after the plane took off that we informed them that Obama was not on the plane. This did not sit well with the press corps, by the way.
What is he meeting with Senator Clinton?
I'm not going to get into details of his schedule.
What do you remember about them arriving at your house, seeing each other for the first time after this hard-fought battle?
I remember some strain. I had two chairs facing each other in the living room, and I left and went upstairs. And about 20 minutes, a half hour later, I heard laughter, and I said, done.
Mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished.
A good soldier, Clinton campaigned hard for Obama.
The time is now to unite as a single party with a single purpose.
After Obama's victory, another surprise. He asked Clinton to serve as his Secretary of State. On February 2nd, 2009,
I, Hillary Rodham Clinton.
Hillary Clinton was sworn in.
During those first couple of years, a lot of it was about rehabilitating the U.S. image in the world.
Raise your hands if you have a question.
Foreign Policy Advisor Andrew Shapiro.
She would always arrange for what they called a townerview, which was a combination of a town hall meeting and an interview. And it enabled her to establish a real connection often with the people of those countries.
Her mission to meet not just world leaders,
What is the situation in...
but also regular citizens, was called people-to-people diplomacy,
That the young woman right there and the young man right there.
and brought attention to important issues Clinton had long supported: women's rights, child. But sometimes other tactics were required.
Secretary Clinton and President Obama were both in Copenhagen.
Clinton's Deputy Chief of Staff, Jake Sullivan, was with them, helping to hammer out an agreement on climate change.
This distinguished group of leaders from nations.
But key delegations were conspicuously absent, until someone suggested the Chinese might be hiding in a conference room down the hall.
And so the President and the Secretary looked at each other and said, let's go.
Are you ready for it? You guys need to talk to me. It's up to you.
President Obama came to the door first, and the Chinese guards had their arms up, but he sort of pushed his way through.
Are you ready for me, or do you want to wait?
Then Secretary Clinton came up to the door and ducked under.
They took seats at the table. Hours later, the foundations of a landmark climate change agreement were in place. But not everything went as planned.
I wanted to present you with a little gift.
There was this badly bungled moment with her Russian counterpart.
And that is, we want to reset our relationship. We worked hard to get the right Russian word. Do you think we got it?
You get it wrong.
I got it wrong.
As Secretary of State, she could have had some kind of landmark moment, and she never did.
Conservative commentator Amanda Carpenter says Clinton made little impact.
You talk to her people and they'll say, well, she traveled around, she visited a lot of countries. That's not a signature achievement.
But what happened in May of 2011 was.
When I became Secretary of State, it's one of the things that I said to the President, that if there's any chance we can track and find bin Laden, I think we have to do it.
That chance came when intelligence said Osama bin Laden might be at a hideout in Pakistan.
It was a tough call because really experienced people looked at the intelligence differently. I became convinced that it was the right thing to do and made that recommendation to the president in that meeting.
Obama and Clinton watched the mission unfold from the Situation Room.
Your heart was in your throat the whole time we were in there. I've never spent a more stressful 30-plus minutes in my life.
Remember, she was the senator from New York on 9/11, so this was personal to her. So getting bin Laden, I think, was for her such an important way to close a chapter, a very painful chapter.
Not long after, a more personal chapter was about to close with her mother, Dorothy.
She was such a great support to me during my entire life, but she lived with us the last 10 years of her life, so she was just there every day, and she gave me a lot of good feedback and advice.
On November 1st, 2011, Dorothy Rodham passed away.
When Hillary was traveling as Secretary of State, she'd leave the light on the piano and wait for her to come home. The first time she went away after her mom died, and she was coming back from a trip, I know she was upset about coming home to the house without her mom there. And Bill and Chelsea came in from New York to be in Washington.
10 months after her mother's death, Clinton faced her greatest diplomatic crisis. September 11th, 2012.
A radical Islamic group led the hours...
Armed men stormed the diplomatic outpost and CIA annex in Benghazi, Libya.
Killed apparently by a rocket attack.
4 Americans died.
The White House confirms.
Including Ambassador Chris Stevens.
The militants were apparently enraged by a...
Conflicting reports immediately emerged. Publicly, the Obama administration said what happened was the result of spontaneous protests.
Today, we bring home 4 Americans.
Privately, Clinton referred to the assault as a, quote, planned attack.
Do you think that Hillary Clinton misled the country during Benghazi?
I think she went along with the Obama administration in misleading the country, yes.
Secretary Clinton, how are you feeling? Are you ready? Years of investigations and hearings concluded that the State Department should have taken much stronger security precautions and that intelligence warnings were ignored. Investigators concluded Clinton was not directly to blame, but she took responsibility in this CNN interview in 2012.
I take responsibility. I'm in charge of the State Department, 60,000 plus people all over the world, 275 posts.
The tragedy in Benghazi has...
That wasn't good enough for Patricia Smith, whose son Sean was killed that day.
I blame Hillary Clinton personally for the death of my son. That's personally.
How do you feel when relatives of the 4 Americans killed that night continue to blame you personally for their deaths?
Well, I feel very sorry for them. I understand the grief that they still must be experiencing, and I'm, very sympathetic to their feelings. There have been 9 independent investigations, most of them done by the other party, and there's no basis for their feelings, but that doesn't mean their feelings aren't real. So I respect that. I just have to accept that 1 or 2 people are going to feel that way, and that's their right. And then the weight of the evidence is pretty clear about what was happening and what we were trying to manage at the time.
In fact, the last of the investigations was revealed to also be politically motivated when the number 2 Republican in the House said this.
Everybody thought Hillary Clinton was unbeatable, right? But we put together a Benghazi special committee, a select committee. What are her numbers today? Her numbers are dropping. Why? Because she's untrustable. But no one would have known any of that had happened had we not thought and made that happen.
Good. Benghazi remains a haunting legacy for Clinton.
I would imagine I've thought more about what happened than all of you put together. I've lost more sleep than all of you put together.
But the political fallout didn't keep her from running for president one more time.
Let's go out and make that
next.